Over the last 8 years, each of you here have come to learn a little or a lot more about either Bianca or Mchael. How they met, what they like about one another, their favourite things, and what makes them them. So here in this moment with you all today, I am going to share with you some of what you may already know, but I ask you to listen with an open heart, share your emotions exaggerately. That's a word in my vocab. And maybe you will learn a little something more about these two lovebirds as we unpack their love story to date and what they want for their future together. Like all great love stories, Mike and B found love at first swipe. On Tinder, 9 years ago when it was the fresh thing to do. So out to have some light-hearted fun, B started to explore the men that were out on the web. And there, Mike's profile pops up. Initially, there was some commonality that appealed to B. He too had set his bio up in a really silly joke manner, just as B's was. So she looked further and she thought he was cute, so she swiped right. Mike was a little cautious with his newfound crush online. He didn't want to tell his parents that he was dating a girl from the web. As his concept was fresh back then. So instead, B was just a chick that he met at the bar. Without making Mike sound like a weirdo, he was initially attracted to B's Tinder profile picture, which was a face swap with a puppy Baxter. Mike thought, any girl who puts enough effort in to literally Photoshop their dog's face onto her face has to be cool. So he sends her an opening line of, "Do you want to build a snowman?" So good. B took the bait. And they started to chat. B went on to tell Mike she's actually a singing teacher and hears that song way too much. But then B proceeds to market her current project at the time, which was the Max and Bianca, to Mike. Why not? Got a new follower. Not long after, B adds Mike on Facey so she could stalk him a little more just to make sure he wasn't a complete weirdo too. And first impressions landed instantly for B. She found him a little bit emo skater boyish, which was kind of the guy she was after and dreaming of since she was a little girl. Not only was Mike a crazy dog lover like B, but it was also Mike's easygoing, very funny, relaxed, super nice, and considerate nature that made that initial impression. As soon as she realised that Mike had the same dumb humour as herself, B knew that Mike was totally her type. It was from then that Mike and B messaged each other each day until they finally met up months later. Their first date was in Sydney on October 6, 2014. Mike had been putting off meeting B because he was so nervous. He thought that he'd found his match and he didn't want to mess it up somehow. So there Mike was, standing behind a pillar around where they arranged to meet, and B waiting next to the tree. Mike was instantly relieved to find out that B was not a weirdo, but instead a beautiful girl from online standing there in the flesh waiting to start her date. After a few deep breaths, Mike works up the courage and with a little anxiety walks over to finally meet B. They straight away hit it off and the nerves and anxiety that was there was completely forgotten. They started their date off by having their first meal at a random little cafe just by the water near the Opera House. And whilst at the cafe, Mike's friend was texting him, asking what he was up to and if he could actually join. B was totally down for a third wheel, because that could be fun, right? The three of them went on to Bondi for a couple of bevies and then Coogee for more food. This time, Bianca bought a pizza, which Mike recalls was the messiest food he'd ever seen. Mike enjoyed... Yeah, there you go. Mike enjoyed trying to watch B eat this pizza on a first date, thinking, who is this chick and how did I get so lucky? Mike still remembers it dripping all over B as she just tried to control it. Just live in it. The date ended at around 11 p.m, which was a little too late for B to catch a train home, so Mike, who lived out at Balmain, offered to drive her home all the way out to Castle Hill. How generous. To bring some context to the story, B's phone had recently fallen into the pool and the battery was totally screwed up. So throughout her date, her phone had actually died. When B finally got home at midnight, all her family were completely unbothered. and in bed ready to go to sleep. Not one bit concerned that they hadn't heard from her all day after meeting a stranger off the web. They'd be scared now if it happened. They just asked, how was it? And said goodnight. Eventually, B got some power in her phone and she had an influx of about 50 messages from Robin, who actually cared. How was the date? Are you still on a date? Are you still on a date? Do you need me to call someone? Are you okay? Yes, Robin, she was completely okay. Looking back on that date, Mike said B was the most chilled, laid-back legend he'd ever met. After all, they had the best day together. This left Mike feeling 100% certain and Mike was locked in that she was the one that he was going to spend the rest of his life with. For Bianca, it was like there was nothing not to love, and just after a few more dates, she too knew that Mike was the one. Since they started chatting on Tinder, Mike was always waiting for the next text from B. He just knew that she was the one for him. Mike recalls B had Anchorman quotes in her Tinder bio, so that definitely helped build on that connection a lot. From those first few days of chatting with B online, Mike felt so comfortable talking to her, and it felt all just right. Mike honestly knew from the very beginning that he was going to fall in love with B. Mike, B admires how considerate you are of other people. Never has she seen you or heard you be rude to anyone. Everyone who meets you leaves with such positive words to say about you, and in B's words, that's because you are just so lovely. B never gets sick of hanging out with you. She loves all the adventures you take together. To B, you are thoughtful, kind, funny, driven, and creative. Let's linger on that one. B admires that through everything you have been through together, you have been more supportive than she could have ever wished for from a guy. And B, Michael says that you are the most caring person that he will ever meet. Unless you are being cut off in traffic, you never have a bad word to say about anyone. To Mike, you are all round a good legend. Their relationship has been lighthearted and always finding ways to have a laugh. It's how they are as individuals that made them the perfect balance to their relationship and a compatible match. B and Mike have a lot of respect for each other and don't take anything too seriously. In some aspects, Mike and Bianca are a good balance of yin and yang. Mike can be super spontaneous and likes to live in the moment, whereas B can't. B needs to plan everything, work out exactly what's going on and when. B calms Mike's anxiety, while Mike builds up B when she's feeling sad. They are one another's absolute best friends. Scarily, they can be almost like the same person in every way. Mike and B share the exact same goals, which is to become hugely famous, and rich enough to save all of the animals. Amen. In Mike's words, everything is exactly right, and he doesn't know how it happened, but it happened. Together, B and Mike's favourite things to do has been travelling the world, doing wine tours, cooking, making music together, and over the years, it's how they have spent their time hanging out with their beloved dogs. It's how they find time to simply watch movies and in any moment ready to take on an adventure to hit the beer garden for an afternoon bevy together. B says doing anything with Mike is her favourite, and Mike just loves how enjoyable life is with B. Oh, and I can't forget to add, they also love to get on Call of Duty and play some pew-pew on the PlayStation together. The simple and favourite things you do as a couple, like what Mike and B have shared with us, help us simply connect, which is super important when life gets full and busy. And they have nailed it. So it is the big gestures, significant and memorable moments, too, that can help shape a relationship, help you grow, create more excitement, and allow you to dream more together. Like right back at the beginning of their relationship, when Mike and Dwayne went on a 2-month trip to Europe just after B and Mike started dating. Mike very sweetly sent B roses as he arrived in Europe. Not only was Dwayne in trouble with his girlfriend at the time, but because he hadn't actually sent her anything, but Mike too got in trouble from Dwayne for not telling him that he was sending B roses. The collection of all the memories from when B lived out in Castle Hill for the first 5 years of their relationship, and they would commute to see and do things together. So the big moment when B finally moves into Mike's apartment in Balmain, as you can imagine, it was awesome. Mm-hmm. They loved making Mike's place theirs, especially B adding her touch of energy from all of her plant babies, carefully placed around their home. A couple of times a year now, they try and squeeze in a couple of music writing trips to LA together. And on one of B's solo writing trips, Mike still wanted to be there with her, but sadly, he had to stay back for work. And so B could feel his presence the whole time, Mike snuck a Swarovski ring into B's bag. So when B opened her bag in LA, it was there waiting for her to open and wear with her the whole time. So cute. You are so cute. Yeah. I want you. No, I know. Not yet. Almost taken. Mike recalled the last time they went to LA, they took off to his favourite place, Canada. More on that later. They travelled around Joshua Tree and to Missouri, where they visited B's family. Mike is hoping that this year they can plan more trips back there and explore many more spots together. They have had many memories in the Hunter here together, and one memorable one was when they went to the alpaca resort. B was so excited to feed the alpacas until one of them had freshly chewed up some grass and proceeded to spit it all over her. Oh, so good. And we can't skip over the excitement they shared when they did adopt their Leo. I know. And they had so many wonderful times with their fur babies. Through the loss of our loved ones, they can bring a lot of grief to a person and test a relationship. And sadly, through the passing of B's grandma and Oppa, Mike, you were her strength and compassion that gave B the support she needed like no other could. And then the hard moment for them both when they lost their fur babies, Leo and Baxter, to doggy heaven. They supported one another through these times, and now look at their baby Shady, yes, and future dreams together, there he is, which gives them the strength knowing that they have a lot of love to give. He's like, can I come yet? Not yet, Shady, soon. We're getting there. But the biggest and most significant and memorable moment of all by far is when Mike asked B to marry him. So this story begins back in October 21. Mike had started looking for the ring because he knew he wanted to propose but just didn't know how. And if he got the ring, then at least it would force his ass into gear to pop the question. So there it was. Mike found the perfect ring and got it sent over from America. The ring arrives and now he's to come up with an elaborate plan of what to tell B when the mailman drops the delivery. Yeah, it was something like, it's for my sister, I have to put it in my studio and post it to her later.
I was like, why? That makes sense.
Just move back this way, guys. Yep.
He knew where he was going to ask, Canada, in the Rockies. Not only is this his favourite place in the world, but the perfect spot to pop the question. So it was during their 7-week LA trip in early 2022. They took off from LA to Canada on the last leg of their trip to catch up with some of Mike's friends and do a bit of exploring themselves. Earlier, Mike found a dog sled tour group in Lake Louise who were keen as for the idea of helping him out to make the moment really special when he asked B. Carting the ring around with him for 5 weeks now in his backpack, he was keen but nervous for the moment. Yeah. After all, he was counting his lucky stars so far that B hadn't rummaged through his backpack and come across it yet. Mike thought that B knew the moment was coming as she had styled her hair and popped on her makeup. But B was just super keen to get some photos with the dog and get them cute pics. Yeah. She's giving my story away. B says, had she known Mike was going to ask the question, she would have got her nails done. Got a little glider on the cuddles. Oh, I love it. You should be a writer. You are. B and Mike were the last group of the sled tour. And so on their return trip, they went off the track to a more private spot in the snowy meadow, which was quite beautiful. That's when Mike knew that it was his time to shine. The tour guide suggested now was a great time to take a picture with those puppies. So B and Mike were keen for them photos, got down and lapped it all up. After taking them cuddly pics with the dogs, B went to stand up, and as she turned to Mike, there he was, kneeling with the ring. B recalls. What was it, B?
It was so freaking cute.
Thought she was gonna say it. Oh, really? Oh.
Mike can't recall the exact words in the moment because he thinks he may have blacked out a little bit. But with yourselves, the puppies, and that gorgeous ring, I'm sure it was a moment, and definitely a moment that you want to keep reliving. Following this fairy tale proposal, they played and fed with the dogs before heading out to the Fairmont Chateau for lunch. And then to top off their celebration, it started to snow. And Mike recalls it was magical AF. So it goes without saying their greatest achievements are that they are able to be happiest with each other every single day. They have taken the best care of their fur children. And apart from the 100s of songs that they have written together, it is that they have definitely kept on surviving in the music industry. Round of applause. Yeah. Mike, to Bianca, you are an absolute bloody legend. With you, life is just so fun and easy. Every day B wakes up happy knowing she is next to you. B feels lucky to have found someone who is so much on the same level as herself. Your dedication to her, like back at the beginning when you started dating. She recalls you would finish work at 3 or 4 a.m. in the bar from the city and drive all the way out to Castle Hill so you could see her and spend the next day together. It's these little things and the more that you do for her that she trusts your never-ending love. And Mike, and with you, B has a lot of love, comfort, support, a dedicated gossip partner, and a fur baby daddy rolled into one. B looks forward to just being able to spend the rest of her life with her favourite person and being able to grow and journey together. And B, Mike says you are his perfect match. Being in love with you is pretty damn amazing. Mike loves that every day he gets to spend it with his best friend. Mike knows if he is having a bad day, you will always be there to help him feel better, as he always will be there for you. Mike feels it is honestly just the best. Today you are becoming his wife and the one person in the whole entire world that he gets to spend the rest of his life with. Mike loves that you have given him a whole new wardrobe full of very colourful clothes that he would never have bought himself, and that he has an awesome apartment filled with maybe a little too many plants. Never. 160 now. Note that, guys, from what's coming. Be with you. Mike can't wait to keep travelling the world, have more puppies, drink more wine, experience more new things, continue adventuring, and, well, just keep doing about everything with you. So what do you say? Ready to see these guys get married?